Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Talkin Folk. This is Nick, and I hope you had a fun and safe Memorial Day weekend. Ryan and I recorded this episode on Chris Stapleton back in January. We had a lot of fun doing it, but didn't know when we were going to release it. So there might be some references to recent concerts or upcoming events that have since been canceled. Still enjoyed the episode, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, so I hope you enjoy it too. And here we go. All right, welcome to this week's episode of Talkin Folk. Joined again by our good friend, Mr. Ryan Sheedy.
Yeah, we had to talk about that. I don't know why you keep inviting me back.
I don't know. Our listeners are plummeting. That's okay. We're doing it for us anyway, so
It's a me thing.
Today's episode, we're going to go through one of your favorites, if not your favorite. You're debating it in your head right now.
I am, and pretty sure I can safely say he's my favorite artist in the world, any genre out there at this moment.
Yeah.
But I have some concerns, which we'll bring up later.
Yeah, and we'll talk about his career. Mr. Chris Stapleton. He's basically like your musical avatar.
Yeah, I love him.
If you could be one musician, it would be him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic, and I think, great backstory. One of the best voices I've ever heard, both on album and live, which I think is huge.
Yeah, you saw him.
Personally.
You saw him recently, didn't you see him last year or so?
I've seen him, I believe, 3 or 4 times now.
I have yet to see him, actually. He's somebody who I am doing myself a disservice. I know that by not seeing him.
Yeah, and for me, a big thing about when I see an artist live is I don't want them to sound exactly like the album, because then I just go home and listen to the album. But I want their vocals to be as strong and not reliant on auto-tune and whatever sound engineering. And Stapleton's vocals are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and what's funny is, and we're going to talk a little bit about his story, or how far he's come in really a short amount of time since he's become so popular.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't always front and center.
No.
Right.
No, he's most often in his career taking the back seat.
Right. So he's I don't know how up to date the stats are online, but he's got 170 writing credits.
Crazy.
6 number ones. I don't think that actually even includes his own number ones. I think that's just for other people. He's written for Kenny Chesney, Josh Turner. He's written for Adele, Brad Paisley, Dierks Bentley. Like
List goes
anyone
on.
in that scene.
Luke Bryan, Justin Timberlake.
Right.
Wrote 3 songs on JT's last album. So
yeah, and so that's the thing, right? He's moving around genres, which is hard to do and pretty awesome, but at the same time,
it can be hard to navigate. And we'll jump into it. Why not? Let's come right in hot.
Yeah.
A little nervous about the current direction of his career. He came out with a song with Justin Timberlake in 2018, which was meh at best.
Yeah.
He's coming out with songs with Bruno Mars.
Yeah. Well, it's just different, right?
It's different, and he's earned the right to do that. He's earned everything that's come to him.
Right.
I hope he doesn't forget his roots.
Right. Yeah, and as a fan, that's you're saying that as a fan.
Yeah,
right?
and I liken it a little bit to, I'm the country guy on this podcast, and Zach Brown Band, their original stuff is Southern bluegrass country.
Yeah.
And then you go back to some of their recent albums, and it's like they're putting out EDM music, and it's like, what are we doing?
It's very, very, very different. And look, if that's the direction that they want to go, so be it.
So be it. They've earned that right as an artist.
Right.
And that's they want to express themselves in that way and do that type of music. Great. I think it needs to be good if you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think "Say Something" was very good from Stapleton and Timberlake. So a little concerned. He hasn't put out an album in 3 years.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to end up covering, in a little bit. Just there's nothing that recent, a couple years, but...
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see where the next one goes.
Right, what direction it goes. And so a little backstory on him. Was writing, was in kind of the Nashville music scene, joined the Steel Drivers or formed the Steel Drivers. Basically only had a 2-year run there.
Yep. They had some success.
It did.
A couple charts on the bluegrass charts, really.
Yeah.
You know.
I actually, what was funny was there was an old Steel Drivers song that I used to really like. The name of it is escaping me right now. But I had heard it like probably a year or two ago. I was like, I didn't realize that he was in the band. Just randomly, it was a song I was listening to.
Their most famous one is Midnight Train to Memphis.
Okay. And I heard that voice. I was like, that sounds so much like Stapleton. And then I just Googled it real quick. And, oh, it is Stapleton, right?
Yep.
And then eventually, you know, he ends up trying to go solo, right? Which is where he's at now. We all know that story, you know, where he is. But he failed. So in 2013, he released What Are You Listening To, which was a single, and it had terrible, you know, maybe it wasn't a terrible song, a terrible review.
It flatlined.
But it just flatlined. It never got out there. Nobody cared about it, you know, which is unfortunate.
They had a whole album.
Right.
And that was going to be the lead single.
Yeah.
That single got such poor reviews that they pulled off the whole album.
Yeah.
Which I can only imagine.
I mean,
his perspective is like, holy cow.
We've talked, you know, on the last week's episode, we talked about Nathaniel Rateliff and, you know, that moment when you're going to throw in the towel. Now, I think he was still successful as a writer, right, at that time.
Oh, yeah.
He was writing for other people. So he had his career. He wasn't working at a loading dock or whatever.
He wasn't on the street corner.
Right. But basically, you know, gave it one more shot, or maybe not a final shot, but recorded Traveler in 2015. And it was your point about, you know, is there a fear of where his direction is heading as a fan, you know, that kind of thing. That was like 15 years worth of songs that he had written, you know. Him and his wife, Morgan, went through and said, these are the best 9 songs to put out for this album. Right?
Yep.
And they recorded those eventually.
Yep.
You know, that's
album.
a lot of time to have, you know, written and basically cut out things that aren't that good, or, you know, filter through.
You get a lot of feedback, a lot of chance to make corrections. Oh, this song wasn't that good.
Right.
And ditch that one.
Right, exactly.
So everyone liked that one. Here we go.
So he releases that album, and then it's pretty much overnight after he releases that album that he's off and running, right?
So my first time that I got familiar with him was, in my opinion, the Grammys is what it is. It's pretty mainstream. I enjoy it still. I can directly recall some great performances on the Grammys that were, you know, pretty eye-opening for me. And the one that I can think of with Stapleton was he came out solo and did Tennessee Whiskey, which was like, who the hell is this guy? This is awesome. Right. And then JT joined him on stage, and they did Drink You Away, which is like, I still go back and listen to the YouTubes of that performance. It was so good.
Yeah. Well, people say that was a career-defining moment for him.
Jumping off point for sure.
Yeah.
And
if you can get buddied up with JT, right?
Right. You see JT come on stage, you're like, all right, this guy's somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And so since then, he's won multiple CMAs. He's won he's won
Best
Grammys.
Country Artist. Yep.
He's been all over the place.
For In a Room, Best Country Artist 2018 Grammy. A bunch of accolades, amazing talent.
Yeah.
And just an incredible singer.
And I told you I wanted to say this before, but he was the best thing that happened in season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Facts.
He was at a cool cameo in was it the Long Watch or the Night Watch or whatever that episode was called.
I can't talk about this. You know this. You're trying to trigger me.
So
I'm not gonna fall for it.
Anyway, what are we doing first? What song do we want to talk about?
Let's go with Nobody to Blame.
Okay.
Off his first album, Traveler.
Great. So we'll get into it. We'll do our normal thing, and we'll stop along the way.
She took down a photograph of our wedding day, ripped it down the middle and threw my half away. And I got nobody to blame but me. I got nobody to blame but me. She broke all my fishing rods, put my guns in hard, threw my clothes out in the yard and changed out all the locks. And I got nobody to blame but me.
So a lot of times on this podcast, we go through songs that have a lot of depth.
This is a fun
hidden
one.
meanings. This is pretty straightforward on this one, but it's fun. It's a sad subject still. I mean, he's getting his ass thrown out.
Right.
And I just like to imagine that he's just going up on the sidewalk, pulling out a lawn chair, and he's just pouring himself a drink and just watching his ex whatever go to town on all his belongings. And he's like, you know what? I deserve this, and I'm just gonna watch the world burn.
It's almost like he's, in a way, maybe it wasn't like this at the time, but in a way he's reminiscing about it, laughing about it.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
It has like a funny vibe to it.
Holy, she went apeshit on me. Like,
yeah, I was an idiot or whatever it was. Right?
Yeah, he did something bad.
Yeah,
I'd love to know what he did. I wish he went into that a little bit.
Right,
because he did something bad for him to be like, okay, yeah, I deserve what's coming to me here. This is I'm just gonna pull up a chair and watch the fireworks.
And it's like you said, it's a pretty simple story.
Yeah.
But it's fun to talk about. But I do, he's a good songwriter, so I do like, just the visuals that he gives. Right. She broke all my fishing rods. She changed out all the locks. It's nothing too complex, but he's just painting a picture, right, of what's happening.
You can see it happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I got nobody to blame but me. I know right away I went wrong. I know just what got her gone. Turned my life into this country song, and I got nobody to blame but me. I got nobody to blame but me.
I like how he pokes fun at himself.
Yeah.
Turns my life into this country song. He's a very skilled songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a simple line, but I think he's using it pretty ironically.
Yeah. There's often, I think movies do this the same way, right? And music acts and all these different things. They try to pretend like there isn't like this obvious veil that's over it of, yes, I'm writing a country song, or right, I'm making a movie, so I can't, we can't break that fourth wall kind of thing.
Right.
Like, no, it's okay to say, in this context, when it's a fun song like this, to an extent, it's okay to say, I wrote this country song because of this. And it actually, to me, makes it feel more real than if it was too much, abstract.
And this song is certainly, just off the top of my head, probably his most stereotypical country song. Like,
yeah.
Oh, she took my guns. She took my fishing rods. She stuck some knives in my 4x4.
Exactly.
So
it's funny.
It's funny.
My old hot rod, ran it in the pond, put sugar in my John Deere. I can't even mow my lawn, and I got
I wanted you. Yeah.
Just
imagine being so vindictive that you're gonna take the poor guy's lawnmower.
Yeah, what you just said was, it is the most stereotypical country song that I know of that he has written for himself anyway. I know that he's written for other artists that are probably more stereotypical country, but that line, put sugar in my John Deere,
I'm laughing.
I can't even mow my lawn. Just gets me.
Nobody to blame but me. I got nobody to blame but me. She built her a bonfire with my old 6-string. Took all my good whiskey and poured it down the drain. And I got nobody to blame but me. I got nobody to blame but me.
She wanted to leave him with nothing. Just absolutely.
Do we know? Is it a true story? Was he divorced or anything like that?
He's not been divorced, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
Looking over his Wikipedia here, still married to his wife Morgane. And they have 5 children. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't. You could still get thrown out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, or it could have been like I mean, this sounds like something young and dumb.
Yeah.
So maybe he's reminiscent on something,
Yeah.
fresh. 22, 23.
Right. I mean,
You had a dumb night out,
Yeah.
and you did something you shouldn't have. I'm dying to know what he did,
Yeah.
because this is burnt earth, like you read about, and
This, when this type of event, I've never had this type of thing happen to me, but there's those moments when something is so bad it becomes ridiculously funny. He's crossed that chasm in this song where it's now
Introduce a little
hilarious to him.
anarchy.
Yeah, it's now hilarious to him. Exactly.
yeah.
I know right away I went wrong. I know just what got her gone. Turned my life into this country song, and I got nobody to blame but me. I got nobody to blame but me.
It just fades out with a long musical outro. And one thing I do want to say about Stapleton is I put him right there with Isbell in terms of guitar player plus vocals. He's lead guitar and lead vocals, which I put a ton of cachet into. I think that as a plebeian myself who could barely play the recorder, that's incredibly talented to me.
I don't know if he plays anything else besides guitar, but like
never
in
seen
studio sessions or anything
never
like
seen it.
that.
And I hate to be a noob and keep coming back to the Grammys, but in past years, he'll come out for they'll do the collaboration acts at the Grammys, and he'll come out and just shred on the guitar and not really even
Yeah, he doesn't have
sing.
to be out there singing.
No.
And it's cool because his voice is really good that he can do multiple things.
Like my favorite band of all time, Fleetwood Mac, it reminds me of Lindsey Buckingham. Hugely talented guitar player that can also, sing his ass off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, it's just a good, fun song, good country song. That's country.
So you
That's
said
not much
before
folk
you
in
really
that.
wanted to keep the fun going for the second one, right?
Well, I brought
do
you
we
guys
got?
up. We had some fun, and now we're gonna tear it all right down and take it out from under you.
So the next song we're gonna do is from his next album or the one after that. I could do a quick double check,
I
but
believe it's Volume 1.
so he released an album called From a Room, Volume 1 and 2, and I'm assuming that they may have recorded it at the same time, but just released it separately, like 6 months apart or so.
Yeah, they're short. They're 9-10 songs. So
Yeah.
barely an album, but
So
give them credit for 1.5.
yeah, basically. But From a Room, that reference is actually, that's the RCA. We talked about it on the High Women episode. That's the same place that they recorded their album, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's just a reference of From a Room. It's a pretty historic recording studio. So he just wanted to give it a little nod because recording studios never get the nod,
Right.
So it's just his little nod, similar to the Beatles saying that, Abbey Road kind of thing. So, but we're going to do Either Way.
This one's called Either Way. I have some takes on this song.
Okay. Do you want to do them now or do you want to wait till
No.
it gets going?
Let's get it going.
All right.
We pass in the hall on our way to separate rooms. The only time we ever talk is when the monthly bills are due. We go to work, we go to church, we fake the perfect life. I'm past the point to give a damn, and all my tears I cry.
Woof.
Much different vibe.
Little bit. This is the blues in Chris coming out right here.
It probably, honestly, where I think his voice actually sounds the best. If anyone knows this song, he's got some belters in here.
Yep.
that are really
Raw.
awesome.
Yeah.
But I love that he's got this kind of tone in his repertoire. So you want to talk about the first verse?
This isn't one you have to guess at either, the song, but this is much deeper, much more intricate, much more heartfelt, personal.
Yeah.
Pretty clear what this is about. It's about a failed relationship, maybe.
Seemingly.
We'll get into my takes on this.
Yeah. I really like so there's a lot of different ways to talk about, oh, well, I never talked to my ex, even if you're living in the same house, right? Like, never talked to my ex or never talked to this person. But it's always kind of fluffy or not always, but a lot of times it can be fluffy and those types of things. He's super direct in saying the only time we'll ever talk is when the monthly bills are due. Like, he just took that abstract thought and just slammed it into like real, reality, which is awesome.
Yep.
Right. I think that's what makes him such a relatable songwriter, and probably why, he's able to move across different genres, because he's not doing something too fancy with these different ideas.
And I think the important thing to note from this verse is, I passed the point of giving a damn. All my tears are cried.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah.
He's given up.
The We Fake the Perfect Life,
they're putting on an appearance still for their friends, their family. They don't want to let them know the depths of this hurt.
Right.
God, this song is tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Well, let's keep going.
We can just go on like this. Say the word, we'll call it quits. Baby, you can go, you can stay. But I won't love you either way.
I think we have to pause it there.
It cuts to my core, that chorus. You can hear the pain, the rawness of his voice on that. Like, he's just, you can feel the hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I said it before, but that going from kind of a low singing tone, whatever you want to call it, up to that high volume is like an unbelievable change in this song.
It strikes you.
Yeah, it really does. So what do you think? Like, say the word, we'll call it quits. I mean, is this to you a relationship that's still going or is not going? Like, what's...
All right, so here come the hot takes. I've seen Chris live twice since this album came out.
Sure.
Didn't play this song either time.
Okay.
I just looked at the set list of his last 10 shows online. Played the song once.
Not playing it, really.
Who's in his band?
His wife.
His wife, Morgane, is in the band.
Huh.
So, like, the last one was fluffy, going back to Nobody to Blame.
Yep.
Fluffy, it might not have been about him, might have been about something he was visualizing. Maybe he saw a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was a past, like, young, dumb relationship.
It could be a friend even, right?
Right.
Yeah.
This one is heavy, and he really, really seems to hate playing it.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's something that's really strikes with him just as much as it's...
And for me as the listener, when he hits that point in the chorus where his voice almost breaks, he's straining so hard to get out what he feels. It's like, this is real. This is something in his life. And maybe it was it says they have 5 happy, healthy child, and I don't want to make any conjecture on their status of their relationship. Everyone has dark periods, and you either work through them and move on, or maybe this was a point in their life where things were bleak. It was a tough point for them.
I mean, and even if, even if at this point things have fixed, you're maybe could be talking about a time when it wasn't, right? When things were really at the edge, and because it's still in here, baby, you can go or you can stay, right? That sounds like it's still at the point where it wasn't decided,
right?
Either way.
Yep. And hopefully for them, if my hot takes are correct, which they usually aren't, hopefully for them they found something to rekindle it. and pull it back together and bring them back to the point where they ended up in the same house together and in love with each other and forming this life together.
Yeah.
But in this song, it's not there.
It's been so long since I felt anything inside these walls. You can't hate, you can't hurt, and you don't feel it all. I used to cry and stay up nights and wonder what went wrong. It's been hard, but hearts can only do that for so long.
Biggest line of that verse is when you don't feel it all.
Yeah.
I think I've heard it said to me, I've read it, like the worst thing you can feel to a person is not hate. It's like complete indifference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where he's at.
And then he follows it up with, I used to cry and stay up at night. There's a reason that's the past tense, right? Obviously, as talented of a songwriter as he is, he's not wasting any words, or there's nothing in there by accident. Used to cry and stay up at night and wonder what went wrong. Basically it's just saying, I just don't anymore.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done, and I could care less, and I'll go on leading this empty existence that we have with each other. And
yeah.
But, when you don't feel it all, just complete indifference. I don't care how this works out. I don't care where we end up. It's like the true end of the road is not when you're fighting and arguing with each other. It's when you feel completely dead inside about the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So he gives the chorus 2 more times after this.
Yeah,
we'll let another one. We'll let another one play out.
The main content of the song is pretty much over. He hits the chorus one more time, and I think it's worth playing the chorus one more time for the depth of it.
We can just go on like this. Say the word, we'll call it quits. Baby, you can go, you can't stay. But I won't love you either way.
So he gives another one of those after the song kind of fades out. But I find the line, I won't love you either way, really interesting. Because it has to, at this point, and again, we don't know if it's totally about his own life and him and his wife's own life, but that's a past tense, like, I'm already past all of that, right? It doesn't matter if you say we want to work this again and all that, like, I won't love you either way, no matter what at this point. Like, it's over.
Right.
That really hits me really hard. You put it in that context of, like, maybe he doesn't want to play these songs because it's from a bad place anymore, because this was a pretty popular song on the album, I think.
For most people that I speak to anecdotally, it never got airtime on the radio or anything like that. Sure. It wasn't meant for that. But anecdotally, family members, friends, this is their favorite song on the album.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
And for it to be the favorite song on the album, I'm sure he knows people feel that way about it.
Right.
He's not a dummy. He's been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
It doesn't get played at the concert. It says something to me.
Right.
I mean, he plays it, but it's like
rare.
Seems like one every 20, one every 15.
Right. Well, I will say, you and I both, we want to see more stuff come out of Stapleton. It's been a few years since he's had a solo release. He's been contributing to other artists, as usual,
as we've discussed.
But we'd love to hear a solo. So Chris,
yeah, hopefully something's coming out soon. Hopefully he has something in the works for this year. That would make it, I think, 3 years or 2.5 years at least since Volume 2 of In a Room came out. So would love to hear something new and see what the next phase of his career is and what his sound is like at that time.
Yeah,
Hopefully
definitely.
it's, the Stapleton that I've fallen in love with, and
Yeah.
just great stuff.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of Talkin Folk. We'll have our good friend Ryan Sheedy back as soon as possible. If you like what we're doing, subscribe, give us some feedback, shoot us messages, whatever you can do. We're trying to make this something that is a living, breathing, moving kind of project, and we'll just have some fun with it.
Yeah, at Talkin Folk on Twitter. Give us some feedback there. Let us know what, if there's an artist you want to hear. If you want to see something different out of us.
Yeah.
All suggestions welcome.
And if it's negative feedback, just forget this ever happened.
Yeah, send that to Jimmy.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later.